Bank Indonesia has kept its benchmark 7-day reverse repo rate at 5.75%. The move aims to stabilize the rupiah amid global uncertainties while keeping inflation within the 2.5% target range. But what does this mean to Indonesia economy? To break it down, we have economist Joshua Parede with us here in the studio. Joshua, thank you so much for being with us. So, 5.75%. Is this what the analysts have been expecting? And then what does it look like ahead with the hold rate from the BI at the time being?
I think for this month BI meeting, most analysts or economists are expecting that BI would likely maintain the BI policy rate at 5.75%. Taking into account that rupiah still currently traded 16,300 per dollars. And then take into account also that Trump's policy with regard to the import tariff, still don't know. Everyone still don't know yet about the possibility on which countries. And then BI, I think the first and foremost, I think BI aims to manage the rupiah stability.
Okay.
And then the second one, BI wants to manage also the, of course, the inflation domestically, because even though January inflation remained manageable below 1%, but I think BI wants to manage the imported inflation, which will be driven by weakening rupiah in the longer term. So that's why I think Bank Indonesia will decided to maintain the policy rate to manage rupiah stability, which at the end of the day, the stable rupiah will also support sustainability in the economic growth.
All right. So if I understand you right, so by maintaining this rate currently at 5.75. We're hoping that the rupiah is going to stay stable, and that way, if we have to import stuff from other countries, then the price not going to boost up the inflation, even though January, as you mentioned, it doesn't even hit the 1%. Now, if we see what happened last month, around January, when they cut from 6 to 5.75%, the composite, the IDX we're seeing a trend of a bullish trend. And then today, after they hold the rate, it's go up in the early today trading, but then again it's going down again. How do you see this holding the rate at 5.75% impacting the IDX so far?
Actually, as we already know that domestic capital market will be supported by stable rupiah.
Okay.
That's the first thing. But the second thing also, I think JCI and then bonds market, domestic bond market, also will be driven by other sentiment, particularly from the externals.
Okay.
Note that also, as we already know that President Trump tended to announce quickly about regarding to the import tariffs announcement, but he seemed to be slowly to implement the policies, meaning that he wants to open up the negotiations with the major trading partners. And then, in addition to that, also Trump's policy also will likely cut the tax. At the end of the day, this will lead to the widening fiscal deficits, and then fiscal deficit in U.S. will lead to the higher U.S. Treasury, because of the supply of the bonds will be increasing in U.S. So that's why I think that's still the risk that we have to manage about even though the U.S. stocks still relatively in the bullish trend, but I think other than U.S. Treasury movement, I think JCI also will be driven driven by other sentiments, particularly maybe, for example, like I have to say about the apart from the maybe the efficiency in the government spending. We have to realize that for some sectors this will be impacting for the private sectors and not for sure for the public sectors. But for the private sectors, there will be some impacts for sure. Okay. For example, like for the infrastructure sectors, that will be also reflected in the JCI performance. And then also for the, maybe for example, like financial sectors in JCI, we note that also some bank shares currently also tended to be under pressure, because of the, I don't know, maybe the performance, in 2024 maybe was not that good compared to 2023, because of the, we know that last year BI in net, I think maintained the policy rate at 6%, because in April, BI hiked the interest rate, but in September, BI lowered the interest rate. So there is no any change significantly. So that's why I think there is no, and we note that net interest margin in the banking sectors continue to decline. So that's why I think the performance of banking sectors also reflecting the performance in the bank shares in JCI. So I think there are so many reasons why JCI performance tended to be declining, even though Bank Indonesia maintained the policy rate at 5.75%.
All right, that's interesting. Now, one of the things that Pak Peri, the governor of Bank Indonesia, mentioned was Indonesia looks like the economic growth for 2020 fiscal year 2025 is going to be around 4.7 to 5.5%, and one of the driven factor for this number is actually investment, the foreign investment. Now, you mentioned earlier we have to hold the rupiah. So how big of a foreign investment will boost the economy to get to that number, and what can be done to get to those foreign investors to coming into Indonesia?
Yes, of course. Indonesia economy is largely driven by domestic consumption, household consumption, roughly 50 to 55%, followed by investment, fixed investment around 30%. So that's why I think the ambition, the vision to achieve 8% growth need to be also supported by the increase in the investment. So that's why government also already will likely to announce Danantara, for example, in order to to attract or to foreign investors in the future, to leverage, for example, like SOE assets, for the to attract investors. So I think, and then I think for the foreign investor perspective, stability in the rupiah, in the exchange rate, I think the one of the most important things.
Okay.
When foreign investors look at a stable exchange rate, I think the foreign investor also will be more comfortable, in investing their monies, because they're investing for the longer term. So that's why they have to manage their expectation on the rupiah stability. And also, I think we have heard about the government regulation on the export proceeds.
Yes.
Government will regulate the exporters to hold the export proceeds. Minimum 12 months, 100%. I think also the president also mentioned that this regulation will impact additional up to 80 billions per year.
Wow.
So that's why I think this again will spur of course the confidence level of the foreign investors. At the end of the day, of course, whenever there's no any risk on the currency, I think the foreign investor will be boosting will be boosted in the future to support 8% growth.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned earlier about Danantara. Can you explain to us a little bit, like, how is Danantara will attract that foreign investor? And also, they're going next week. They're also going to announce the bullion bank, and will that actually help with any of the growth of the economy in the country? And will it attract investors coming into the country?
Yeah, I think the initiative that the government wants to do is that currently the management of SOE assets, I think, is not fully managed well. So that's why I think the government wants to, because there's some kind of inefficiency, yeah, in managing the SOE assets. So that's why I think by holding up the super holding Danantara, so I think it will be more effective and efficient to to attract more investment, yeah, because as I mentioned, the initial capital, because it consolidated SOE assets about 900 billions, yeah, US dollar. I think it's one of the 7 largest maybe in the world. So I think the government would likely leverage these assets to attract more investment in the future for maybe infrastructures, or maybe industrial estates, or maybe digital economy, and also green economies projects. So I think in the future, there are so many projects to be financed by foreign investors by leveraging the SOE assets. So hopefully we can, Danantara can have maybe similar success, or maybe greater success than Temasek has.
Hopefully. How about Bullion Bank? What's your take on that?
Bullion Bank, I think, is one of the government initiative as well, yeah, to accommodate our consumers' behavior, yeah, to maybe, for example, nowadays, maybe because of we note that the development of gold price, yeah, tended to be increasing, yeah, since the Russia-Ukraine war. So that's why I think there's also that tendency of the investment that people tend to save, so-called that menabung emas, yeah. So they save for buying gold, yeah, because of the gold price tended to be stable in the future. So that's why I think because of this behavior, the government initiated with the Bullion Bank, yeah. So that's why I think, hopefully, and then for the selected financial institution that chosen as a Bullion Bank, I think this also could be the capacity of the financing of this institution would be also increased to support the real sectors, yeah, because the sense of the Bullion Bank, again, the government wants to enlarge the capacity of this financial institution to leverage or to finance, yeah, to real sectors. So when, for example, the people save their or buy gold or save their golds to their institution, maybe, for example, I don't know yet about the regulation, but maybe the banks or the financial institution can lend the money for their maybe for working capital loan, for example. I don't know, but I think that's the thing to make the capital more profitable and then effective.
All right. Now it looks like the Fed only gonna cut one more time this year for their rates. Now, how do you see Bank Indonesia? Are they going to cut any more rate for the time being for 2025, or are we going to see 5.75 for the rest of the year?
Recently, actually, the governor of Bank Indonesia mentioned that BI still has room for rate cut, but I think again the rate cut room will be driven again by the condition in the Feds, yeah, because currently, as you mentioned, Fed's probability of rate cut would be only one cut, yeah, in the second half of this year, and if those kind of probability will not impact negatively to rupiah much, so hopefully there's still maybe maximum another one more cut, yeah, but in the more conservative way, thought, I think BI will likely maintain the policy rate at 5.75%, because other than policy rate, I think Bank Indonesia also introduced the loosening in the macroprudential incentive policy, meaning that they already introduced the incentive in the macroprudential policy by giving incentive for the banking sectors to supporting, for example, like labor intensive sectors, to supporting the housing sectors, to support the MSME sector. So that's why I think there's another way to support the economy, not only by cutting the interest rates. So that's why, because we just got the data this morning that current account deficit last year continued to widen, and there's an expectation that this year also the current account deficit will be widening. So that's why the Bank Indonesia will be more cautious, yeah, in managing the external balance, such as the balance of payment and also current account deficit. So that's why whenever this condition, because the fiscal deficit, we note that the fiscal deficit this year will be larger compared to last year. So there is a twin deficit risk for this year. So from the foreign investor perspective, they will be more sensitive, yeah, with the countries that having twin deficit risk. So that's why Bank Indonesia will likely will manage the external balance condition by managing the balance of payment and current account balance at the healthy level by maintaining the policy rate at 5.75%.
All right, Joshua, thank you so much for
sharing
with us here on C Today. All right, that was our conversation with economist Joshua Pardede on the BI rate, GDP, and the foreign investment for Today Business Talk. You can stay connected with us on Instagram, X, and YouTube. Our handle is at C Today News. We're also available online at ctodaynews.com. Let's stay connected.